Hey, there you are. Hola, chica. Do I like the purple?
Mayor Stevens, you can go ahead.
Okay, we're ready. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start our meeting. This is a regular meeting of the Hollister City Council on March 2nd, 2026. This meeting is now in order. It is called to order. It is 6:32 p.m. Can we have roll call, please, City Clerk?
Councilmember Pache,
Present.
Councilmember Resendez,
Present.
Councilmember Morales. Present. Vice Mayor Deanda. Here. And Mayor Stevens.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Resendez, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Ready, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the agenda, and we're going to move right to public input. So this is a time for anyone in the audience, both our virtual audience and in the chambers, to speak um, on anything that is not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Fill out speaker cards out in the lobby and bring them to our city clerk. When you come to the podium, please state your name and your location for our records, and then speak to the council. If you're joining us via Zoom, click on the bottom of your screen and raise your hand. If you're joining us via Zoom on your cell phone, please press *9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject matter. Please note that the state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. City clerk, do we have any speakers?
Yes, we have one speaker right now, Maxwell Neff.
Okay, Mr. Neff.
And my time's going. Hello, my name is Maxwell Neff. I live just south of the city line. I wanted to talk to you all about the railroad. I know I've taken a couple of you aside for a few moments to mention it, but in my time listening to this council, in my reading of the news, it seems like not many people are aware that the railroad is being used. Until 1955, there was a passenger railway that went from Hollister to San Jose. And it's my understanding that 25 is a consistent issue. We've poured a lot of money into it. It's continually soaking our attention for how to get people to work. And given that 50% of the working population of the city commutes to San Jose, having the railroad would be a helpful thing. And it's my understanding that Union Pacific runs a freight train down from San Jose to Hollister, specifically so that they don't have to give public access to the railway. So it seems like it's functional, and it seems like it's something that could be helpful if we have a passenger rail. It would take 30 minutes for a train to go from here to Gilroy, which is about the same time as a commute by car. And I understand that Caltrain has in the past expressed interest in having the railway extend down from Gilroy to Hollister. There's the depot just down the street. And there are, if I remember correctly, there are places for trains to stay overnight just down the line. The railway within Hollister is within Pichet and Morales' districts within the city. And the railway meets up with Gilroy. I believe the entirety of it is within Dom Zanger's district. It's the district just north of the city in the county line. Now, this isn't necessarily a full policy proposal. This isn't something that I'm asking you to do per se, just that it's an option that's on the table that I think that many people are not aware of. So thank you for listening to me. I hope that in the future, at the very least, you'll keep this in mind.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Neff. Any other speakers?
There are no other speakers for this.
Okay, okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Do any members of the council have any brief questions or comments on items on the consent agenda?
I do.
Okay, Councilmember Pache, go ahead.
The warrant register, can I pull that?
Do you want to pull it or do you want to ask a quick question?
I just have a couple questions. So I rarely look at the warrant register. I'll be totally direct. We have so many things typically on our meetings that we don't typically have the time. But I was just wondering a little bit about the animal memorial service. It's like a private cremation. I just have two questions. What exactly is a private cremation, first of all? Because I thought we were like a public organization and we just operated for the public, so it's just private. It just seemed incongruent. And then why is one cremation $935 and then other cremations are $150, $270, $576, $290? I get why we need to cremate animals. I mean, they're not all getting adopted. I'm sure there's a tragedy in and of itself, but
Thank you for the question. So generally speaking, we have a process in which we bring the warrants to you. If you look at them right now, it tells you the vendor name, and the description is not very descriptive. And so it makes it difficult to answer, for example, a question like this. We would like to move towards a system of review in which, whether it's the finance director or the city manager, we should be able to answer those questions, Councilman. If you would allow me to bring the information back to you the next meeting and give you a more detailed picture of what the cremation services are, why do we have the partners that we have? Do we use them every month? Is it a one-off? I don't have any of that information right now, so if it would be okay, I'll bring it to the next meeting. If this is an ongoing expense, you'll see it again. But either way, I like to bring that back to you.
okay. That's basically all I had.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions or brief comments on the consent agenda? Okay, so I'm not seeing anything else. So can I get a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me just do a quick timeout. Let me check if there's any public comment on this. Sorry.
There are no public comments on
Okay.
any of the consent agenda items.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now let's move to a motion. I think I heard one on this side. Go ahead.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Agenda items.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so nobody opposed. So it's passed. So let's move on then to informational reports. We're going to go to committee assignments. I'm going to ask any council members to give any brief reports on any committee meetings, ad hocs, standing committees that you'd like to report on since our last meeting. Let me start on this side of the room. Councilmember Resendez, Councilmember Pache.
Yes, on Thursday, February 19th, I had the opportunity to stand in for Councilmember Resendez at the Council of Governments meeting, and we basically just approved their last year's budget and approved some budget adjustments. Got a quick synopsis of on Measure G and the funding that the county, the city of Hollister and San Juan Bautista are getting. And it came to my attention that we have still some Measure G funds available for us to improve our roads, which is something a lot of us ran on. So that was really exciting for me to hear. We had 18 million allocated and we only spent 5. So we've got 13 to go. So that's exciting news. And we also received an informational report about the State Route 25 corridor improvement project. The public comment period is expired, but we got a lot of really good public comments. And if the community wants to go in and check it out, they can see what's going on with that. One of the options did include something about the trains. So there were 9 options and one of those was that. So I'm sure community members in chambers right now will be excited to check that out. Again, it was on the 19th of last month. So there was that. And I think that's basically all I've got on that. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. This side of the room, Councilmember Morales. Do you want to report on this, what happened at the state?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, Mayor Roxanne and I had the privilege of attending Assembly District 29 Speaker Rivas's delegation in Sacramento, where we listened to all of our delegations, our assembly and senators for our region. We also had the chairs of the Health and Human Services provide a report, transportation, housing, immigration, and I think we had a very clear summary on what's happening at the state in terms of our budget. And the potential risk of some of the measures that are going to be on the ballot. So it was a phenomenal, I think, presentation all day. But we received a lot of great information that will be useful to the city of Hollister. I think in particular, I want to highlight that Catholic Charities was awarded funds to serve Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Benito County on immigration. So we'll be setting up a meeting to discuss how we can collaborate and provide services to our residents.
Yeah, thanks for that. Councilmember
Nothing to
Deanda?
report.
Nothing to. Vice Mayor, I keep forgetting to call it that. Okay, and then, yeah, thank you, Councilmember Morales, for reporting on the states. I'm not going to report on that, although I will just agree. It was a really informative day, a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of things going on at the state level, and it's a very difficult year, to say the least. So but a lot of really good information, and we were happy to hear about Catholic Charities donation. So I'm just going to add one thing I'm going to just piggyback on the COG report on the Council of Governments. I also attended that meeting with Councilmember Preche, and along with that, it's like a partner subcommittee meeting, which is mobility partnership, which is basically a regional meeting that speaks on transportation issues that where we connect with our neighbors like Gilroy, Morgan Hill, so some of our neighbors to the south of us. Essentially, we rely on the same highways, and so when one highway is being improved, then it impacts all of us. So we have a mobility partnership that is a subcommittee of COG. We also had a quick mention of high-speed rail and some of the challenges to get that to make that a reality, because it does require many different jurisdictions coming together. The goal ultimately would be to connect Merced County and other counties to the east, all the way to San Benito County, all the way to Santa Clara County. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of jurisdictions involved. So it's a big project. I don't know if we were going to see that in anytime soon. But the important thing that came out of that meeting was some updates on the interchange on 101 and 25, which many of us who use that corridor have seen some of the changes. We got some updates that there will be some lights that will be added to that as they continue to progress on the work, and so that we're sure that we are sending people to the right lanes, and that we're being safe as we're doing that, as they transition to expanding some of the lanes and then adding to the overpass. So you can go on the COG website and get information about those updates, and you can also register on the website so that you get email notifications on any updates on those projects. So I just encourage everybody to go to the COG website or to the Cal website and you register your name so that you can get those updates. But the easiest way is just to get onto the COG website. And then that's it. That's all I have to report. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to our city manager for her report.
It's my 30th anniversary. Yay. And so that gave me a pretty clear framework on how to address or what to talk about today. So I felt that it was important to share with you some of the nuggets that I've been collecting in the last 4 weeks, in which I've had the honor to sit in the city manager's office. So, as far as strengths, and I'm very happy to report that I'm very, very lucky to have a council that is very clear in its priorities as far as fiscal accountability, as far as transparency, clearly with a desire for a bias towards action, and to make sure that we always think about equity and inclusion as we roll out projects, as we think of solutions, as we frame analysis, and so on and so forth. So let me go down a quick list of some of the observations. The airport is a gem. Our airport is the most fascinating economic development tool that we have in the city. In the next few years, we will be paying close attention about how to capitalize on that asset, on how to make sure that it's shining bright, because it is, in some ways, from an economic development perspective, the future of this city. Police, IT, the clerk's office, they are seeking to modernize and to acquire new tools in strategic partnerships that can help them do their job better, that can increase transparency, that can bring efficiencies. Councilman Pichet, you've talked about lean approaches to what we do. And so those are departments that I think are ripe for those types of experiments. And in fact, tonight, I will give the presentation on the RIMS program, which is part of that modernization. As far as parks, I'm very happy to say that we have good leadership that can help us realign or even think differently on how we take care of the park assets in the city, about how to get outside of our box and maybe think about more strategic partnerships. Public Works, under new management, will continue to focus on tangible victories. And of course, utilities are a big deal. Utilities have taken up a lot of our time since I've been here. When we're at the dais, we discuss sewer and water, and today is no different. We will discuss sewer and water. Internal services, such as HR and finance, are under new leadership. So let me introduce Jessica O'Connell, who is our new finance director, and I'm very, very happy that she is with us. Jessica?
Actually, it's evening. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Jessica O'Connell, Director of Finance, for the record. Happy to be here to assist City of Hollister to catch up with all their audits. Looking into improving any techniques that we need to apply to the budget process, and open to any kind of recommendations from departments and city manager and of course the council. So thank you for welcoming me, and I'm excited. It's a big Sudoku puzzle for me, but I love challenges, so I'm here to stay. So thank you, as long as you guys have me.
Yeah, well, welcome, Jessica. We are very excited to have you, and we're looking forward to seeing some improvement in some of those areas that you just listed, especially our audit. So thank you so much.
We, those two departments, I think, have a very, very unique role in ensuring the sustainability of our operations. It is my intention to bring an interim HR director, hopefully as soon as this week, for just one day a week. We're not in a budget position where I can just offer a full-time position to someone. We will be looking closely at savings in other positions so that we can indeed bring an HR director, hopefully with the new fiscal year. We have a number of liabilities and significant resources that are attached to our inability to take care of some disciplinary matters that end up in settlements. We spend a lot of money on legal counsel. on matters that an HR director could easily resolve in-house without having to go to outside legal counsel, etc. So that's coming, but for now, by the next time that I come to you with that report, hopefully I can introduce you to our interim HR director. As far as CDD and fire, I'm very happy about hearing the enthusiasm and desire to adopt new internal norms and values that are centered around taxpayers and customers, in particular customer service. And of course, the city manager's office is happy to provide the leadership, but we also know that we have to follow the perspective and the history that the management team offers. So the city manager can only succeed with the support of the senior leadership. And I'm very happy to say that I feel that we're working very well together and that we're leading to very, very exciting times. As far as priorities, after 1 month, it's become pretty clear that to get back to a normal audit cycle is important. We are behind because we don't have current audits. We have a number of problems attached to that, and we have a number of questions we cannot answer. So for example, we will be going into negotiations in the next few months, and I still don't have real numbers that can guide those discussions. So clearly that is priority number one. My direction to Director O'Connell has been, you have one thing, and that's the audits. 100% focus on that. We will be counting on Griselle to continue her leadership involvement and so that she can help in other areas. But I do need the finance director fully focused on making sure that our audits are getting done. We've identified a partner, yay. And so a partner that we feel that we're very confident that will be able to work with an agency like ours. A partner is a local CPA firm that has experience working with agencies that have fallen behind, just like us. As far as other priorities, equally important but different is institutional trust. After a month, not saying that I agree or disagree with the observation, but it's been clear that our community doesn't trust its government for a number of reasons, whether it's a permitting process, whether it's customer service, whether it is an inspection. There are a number of reasons. And again, whether that's true or false, it does not matter. The perception is that we are the government and we are not here to help. That's what we need to change. We are the government. We are your local government, and we are here to help. So we need to change that perspective. I don't worry about it. I'm not losing sleep over it because I think we have really good bones to do that. There's a perception problem. I don't think it's a fact problem, but it is a perception problem that we will be dealing with. Some areas that would help us regain local trust are, of course, our CDD activities, anything pertaining to our permitting process, our utilities, sewer and water. The community needs to know that water is safe to drink and that our plant is well run, our sewer plant is well run. We need to bring some level of control in our labor relations. The city is losing significant amount of money dealing with issues that should be resolved by conversations and by being adults. And then, of course, we have problems with our records, whether it's our records retention, whether it's the systems that we have or don't have, whether we have capacity or not. So with that, I'll go ahead and present on the RIMS system, which is what you had requested. Madam Clerk, if you would be so kind. Great. There we go. So RIMS, if we can go to the next page, is an acronym for Records Information Management System. It is a tool that we were able to secure through AB 109 funds. Those were the funds for realignment in the state of California. Every year we get an allocation, and due to the deficiencies that we had in our records management, the chief aggressively pursued this funding, and we were able to receive it. We use RIMS to secure digital transfers of complete files directly to the district attorney's office. So this helps with the chain of control on records. It eliminates, just to give you a sense of paper, right? It eliminates printing 3 physical copies and then actually delivering the materials to the district attorney's office. So having this system, which is approved by the district attorney, helps us tremendously. It also helps us with the safety of the information. Anything regarding the justice system, we want to make sure that it is as safe as possible, as confidential as possible. We paid $500,000 for this tool. And again, those were funds not from the general fund. They came specifically from AB 109. So why did we think that this was necessary? It is a expensive piece of equipment. And what we found is that what we had was old. And I think that that is a common theme in many of our departments, not all, but in many of our departments, in which the tools that we have are obsolete. And so here's an example. As I mentioned, it required a level of energy and printing paper that is unnecessary in 2026, probably unnecessary in 2014. So we're a little behind, but we're catching up. And we wanted to make sure that we had an ability to connect and to track. There's a slide at the end of the presentation that I want to show you, because there's also a transparency component where people can see information. So how do we use it? How do we use RIMS? I try to put little buckets together. So one bucket is transferring the information to the district attorney's office, just like I mentioned. Another bucket is subpoena management. So this allows us to have a centralized subpoena tracking hub. It also replaces the separate subpoena tracking system that we had before. So if you think about old technology, we tend to patch it up, right? We a little bit here, a little bit there. With RIMS, we're able to bring all of that into one equipment, piece of technology. It also gives us automated notifications for our officers. It helps us reduce, one of the goals is to reduce missed court appearances, and improves coordination with the district attorney's office. The next slide is what I was talking about. Actually, not the next one. Another use, oh no, that is. So if you can go to the map, there you go. So this gives you, there's a portal, and it gives you a map of crime and statistics. It allows staff to access this information online with proper login. So for example, if I'm trying to access information, but I'm not authorized to have that information, my login won't work, right? So there's different levels of security. Real-time city activity that would be visible to whoever's is accessing the information. And with that, we hope that we begin to regain that public trust. We are concerned about the accessibility to records and about protecting the privacy of those records, whether it's at the HR department, whether it's at the police department, whether it's at the clerk's office. And I will touch upon that a little bit later. So AB 109 and PRSC tracking helps us flag for suspects. It helps us monitor early releases. And again, AB 109 was realignment, so a lot has to do with bringing folks back into the community and then having the tools to properly case manage folks. As far as integrated RIPA compliance, it has a built-in module. We don't need to patch it up. It has a module. Eliminates outside vendors, and with that, the potential of of having information end up in the wrong hands. And it improves oversight and ensures accuracy. Another part that is very important to the city, of course, is that when we audit, we need to be certain that that the information is protected. So this tool, RIMS, helps us with the audit integrity. So as far as our logs, they are better tracked in ensuring that the information is accurate. We have better links between data points. We have the ability to move a little faster as it does not require paper and pen. And it gives an overall simplified records retention and purging. And let me emphasize that records retention is both about retaining documents, but it's also about purging. We have specific schedules from the state of California that tells us what documents we keep, which documents we destroy. If we don't destroy those documents, then in reality, we're creating an added liability to the city where none is needed. So not that everything can be destroyed. There are a number of records that we have to keep forever and ever, but those that can be purged, it would be nice to be able to do that. We haven't had that ability. And when I say we, I mean as a city as a whole, not just the police department. I would say that the three departments where I do lose sleep over would be the records at police, clerk, and HR. Three departments that have sensitive information and need not only the tools, but also the people to operate these tools. Then as far as some of the more admin aspects of RIMS is that we're not alone. There are more than 300 agencies that use it. So we're not experimenting. This is not a pilot program. It's indeed something that is used. So far, our understanding is that no agency has left RIMS for another product. So as of now, this is the Cadillac. This is what people gravitate to because of all the reasons that I mentioned. And right now, we are going through training to make sure that we can go live hopefully in the next 2 months. So as far as conclusion, before I open it up for questions, is that this offers a modern tool for us to manage the workflow. It adds efficiency and transparency. It creates better public safety outcomes. And it begins to address, doesn't resolve, but it begins to address how important it is for us to regain public trust. So having said that, I do want to emphasize, RIMS is just a tool. The tool is only good if someone operates it. That someone that operates the tool has to be a master at it. If you give me a white empty canvas and paint, I'm not a painter, I wouldn't do anything with it. So it doesn't matter how wonderful the canvas is and how wonderful the paint is, I'm not a painter. So in this case, we need to make sure that RIMS is used in that we have accountability, that whoever becomes the records retention, records management person at police, clerk's office, HR, that person is accountable for the quality of the manner in which that tool is being used. Because technology is not a solution, it's a tool. So to the degree that we will be looking into the budget to find how we can allocate an additional position, definitely for police, definitely for city clerk, definitely for HR. That it does not mean we're going to hire 6 people. It means that we'll start with 1, maybe 1.5, and then go from there. But we do need to take our retention schedules seriously and start implementing a solid and thorough purging of those of our files. Any questions before I continue?
Thank you for that report. Let me check on the side. Any questions on this side of the table? Go ahead,
Yeah, just a
Councilmember
couple.
Puente.
When it comes to the RIMS records information management system, does the system have any level of like automation to help us when it comes specifically to the records retention and the purging part most specifically?
Yes. And I think
Would
that
you automate like getting rid of those that we can get rid of?
exactly,
If that
that's
date is passed, can we just click that on?
That's the idea. So again, retention is not just about retaining, retention is about destroying as well. So yes,
Okay. Are we using it or because,
we will. And again, in a few months, we'll be ready to go because we've done our trainings.
okay. And when it comes to public trust, and that's huge. That's super important. You know, we know how hard we've been working up here to try to get, you know, back into the black and get out of the red and, you know, the CalPERS you know, the actuarial liabilities debacle that we went through back last summer. That was tough. So we've been working pretty hard. The sewer and water, you know, the water is safe. But something happened in the community at Nash Road by the Chase Bank. It's over by Round Table Pizza. From what I read, it was from Bonito Link. Kids on their bikes have been, you know, honing around a little bit. They've been doing wheelies in the middle of the road. I've seen it myself. I call the road I live on Super Speedway McRae because cars go pretty fast on it. There's slow drivers and then there are fast drivers. So these kids are, you know, in harm's way. Sometimes they're not wearing helmets. My question is about the flock cameras. Some communities don't like them, but I've noticed that we've, you know, found people that apparently this news report said the person had run. It was a hit and run. The kid got hit, a head injury. I'm thinking they weren't wearing a helmet because helmets really reduce injury, like seriously. But did your fact-finding mission this last few weeks have anything to do with like flock? Did flock come up at all?
I have not discussed the use of the flux system.
Okay.
At the last report, I mentioned that we had cooperated with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to return one of their bad people. That came about because of how we use flock. So this, again, another technology that we are using effectively. I do have a number of colleagues that have many reasons not to like flock. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right now, for us, it's working.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions on this side? Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
So my questions are around the cost of the system, and is that the total cost for the entire system, including the infrastructure to support it and to implement the rollout?
That is an answer that I think I will ask the chief to address. If you would be so kind, chief, to help me out with that answer.
Yes, thank you. The cost of the software was around 470, and the rest of the money went towards servers and other items. The total cost we expect to be 500,000. After this, there is annual support, just like we have with our previous system. But this grant is going to cover the full cost of implementing it, including the transferring of the existing historical records into the new system.
And what about the staff support for the system? Or do we have adequate IT? Do we have, something goes wrong? Is that going to be a vendor contract, or is that going to be internal staff supporting the system?
Chief?
Yes, it's going to be the same. We're replacing our records management system with the RIM system. So everything that everyone dedicated to the department that works for TrackNet was the previous company. Now we're being trained to use RIMs instead. So we're just going to replace one system with another.
Okay. I just want to make sure we have the appropriate infrastructure to support the needs, just because of our experience with the SELA. And so I want to make sure that, from an operations perspective, sometimes the infrastructure isn't there to carry it over, but it sounds like there is. So thank you for that.
That's it. Councilmember Deanna, no questions. Okay, so I'm not sure who this question is, but I do have a couple questions. So I am the one that asked for a presentation on this. I wanted to make sure that we had a better information. So let me ask about the transition, right? So we have not yet begun utilizing the digital system. Currently, if I'm understanding, we're still relying on a paper-based system, right? And so when we talk about destroying records, it's not simply like delete, delete, delete. It is actual paper that you have to like shred and get rid of.
Yes.
Do we know how far back we are in not destroying paper?
It depends. So in various departments, we have slightly different challenges. For example, in HR, we have very old information, but we are also missing boxes. So, for example, I audited a few files and they did not contain the information that I thought they would be containing, which you can find in Google. So it's not like I have superpowers, but you Google someone, you get information. It should be in the personal file. It is not. And so what I was told is that there are a number of files that are missing. That worries me because if they are missing because we destroy them, I can understand. But if they are missing because we don't know where they are, that's very concerning. In the clerk's office, we are very behind. The last time that we had a records retention policy was what again? 1980 something?
So it was adopted in 1989 and then that was rescinded in 2015, but was not replaced at that time.
So since the 80s, we haven't really been guided by any real framework on how to destroy documents and how to keep documents. So again, for members of the public who are listening to this is not about destroying, but under the law, we are able to purge and destroy certain types of records. And the city has not been able to do that. And in the police department, same thing. Again, 3 departments, probably police in the clerk's office with a much greater amount of files than HR, but nevertheless with very critical and sensitive information.
Yeah.
And it's paper.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, so I share your worry, very concerning. And also, I think the thing that when you mentioned earlier, City Manager Cortez, when you mentioned earlier this idea of the city having some responsibility if we maintain these and therefore some risk of liability, that's an important thing to keep in mind. If we destroyed records appropriately, then that we would not have that responsibility or wouldn't face that liability for those records. So I mean, that's the thing that we want to just keep in mind. So we do want to get on this. So my other question is, in one of the slides, you talked about a logging system. So when people are accessing a digital system, clearly we know who's accessing them. There's some certain kinds of information that I'm sure hold different levels of privacy than others, and only certain people can access them. And there's a way to do it. And then there's some oversight that's allowed when you have that kind of oversight. That is not, you can't have the same level of oversight when it's a paper system. So for, in particular, the records at the PD, because I'm not sure, maybe not, I'm not sure, but it seems like they would have more records at the PD than at HR and city clerk that they have to protect, possibly. I'm not sure, maybe.
I would agree with you because it's private information,
Yeah.
social security numbers, criminal records and so on.
Okay. Okay. So, in what way are we ensuring that only those who have the proper authorization to access certain documents are actually accessing them? In what ways are we doing that now
Okay.
as we're transitioning into a digital system?
Chief, I'm gonna ask you to help me out with that one too. I mean, about the specific protocols. So let's just play along for a second. I am a member of the public. I show up at the police department and I want to see records for my ex-boyfriend. Walk me through it.
Well, you can't in that situation.
Okay.
There's specific rules in place of what records you can see and whether you have authority to see them. The map and the presentation and the discussion about records, that was just the citizen RIMS aspect of it, where people could see criminal activity happening in the city. but no specific information. No addresses. It's just saying on the 300 block of this street, there was a report yesterday of a robbery or a theft.
Mhm.
It's in general terms. So a lot of the cities have this citizen RIMS. It's just someone who wants to know what's going on in their neighborhoods. And it doesn't go into detail. When it comes to the records, we do have paper records for some. We've had TrackNet ever since 2003. So we have records that go back. There was some purging back years and years ago. So these documents aren't necessarily on paper. A lot of them have been scanned into the TrackNet system, and they haven't been purged as far as deleted from there because we have to go through the proper process. The thing about liability is you'd also don't want to delete a record that you were supposed to keep.
Right.
And there's so many different variables,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many different graphs and stuff. So
Sure.
everyone wants to do it the right way. And so that's why we still have those records. And the liability that we have is that if someone requests the records and we have it, then we have to produce it. If we didn't have it, we didn't have to produce anything. We could just respond, oh, that was purged 5 years ago. We don't have any records like you're asking for. So it is a very important one. You want to get rid of records that you don't need,
Mhm.
but you also want to, and the
Yeah.
laws change also, like
Right.
just within the last 5 years, the retention on some sexual assault cases, the statute of limitation has been expanded. And so a lot of those records you're keeping for 20, 30, 40 years or forever, when 10 years ago, once the statute of limitation had expired, you would purge them, or they were eligible to be purged. So there's a lot of confusion to it. Some cities hire companies to do this, but then you're bringing other people to show them your records and stuff. We'd rather have the staff and dedicated to start doing it and being efficient. This system, RIMS, will have in place a notification that says this case, because of what the title is and what kind of case it is eligible potentially for purging, making it easier for our analysts and our staff members to tag it and then verify and then push it forward with a retention system combined with the retention system that it could qualify, and we can do this yearly. We potentially could have a long list of records that have reached their limit, whether it's 5 years, 7 years, or 10 years, or even different years, and say we can get rid of these records now, and then start the process of purging it and making it automatic, and trying to get rid of those on an ongoing basis.
Yeah. Okay. So and I fully agree with, as we move forward into a more digitally based system, it makes sense, right? There's so many benefits to that. And just as an FYI, in my work that I did, like my regular job, not city council related, we went through a similar process. And so I totally get the transition from paper files to digital files. And it's so important to do that. It just makes everything so much more easier to protect and easier to manage. But my question is around oversight of access, and not only if a public comes to access, because obviously they can't get behind the desk, but it is internal as well, right? Internal, like certain staff shouldn't have access to certain types of information, and others do, and there's different levels. And then how do we ensure that in a paper system? I know that was problematic, and it's a difficult thing to oversee when you run a paper system. So that was what my question was more referring to.
So it's how do we ensure that the
Inter-
filing, the files are accessed only by authorized individuals?
Yes.
Internally,
And
yeah.
in the RIM system, one of the great benefits of that is the auditing process that's built right into it.
Yeah.
So anytime that record is opened, viewed, copied, printed, there's an audit trail that shows which person accessed it, which person did anything to it, especially after it's already been approved and by a supervisor. So the
Sure.
current system that we have right now doesn't have that.
And so what do you do right now?
It doesn't have that, and as far as the records are concerned, the paper records are in storage that has limited access. Only records personnel have access to it if they get a public records request. Some of these cases are so old, there's no reason to go into the storage room unless you have a public records request and
Okay.
you go specifically for that case. The system tells you what box is in and what year it's categorized in. And some of the boxes are even in evidence, our evidence area, our vault area. Some of those records, especially the ones pertaining to murder cases and stuff like that, those are stored in that, and that's even more restricted as far as only the evidence technicians could retrieve that box. And they don't even look through the box. They would retrieve the box for records if that's what there's a request for something in there that they can legally release or not.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So I guess this reflects what my concern is, that for honestly, the way that I'm hearing it, Chief, is for where we're at right now, that until we move to the digital system, we can't be sure that only those that are truly authorized are accessing the information, and we're not sure that we have a way to in fact show that that is happening internally. That was what my question was around. Because if we're referring to originally what this was started from, city manager, was about community trust, right? And so in order to make sure that that happens, so right now, until we move into the digital system, Chief, it's still a concern. So it still worries me until we get fully, transition. And then although you're about 2 months out, there is some time, right? Your staff still needs time to like fully get that system integrated and to get all the files transferred. So even with the 2 months after that, it's not going to be fully functional at that time. So it just worries me a little bit. I just want to be honest about that. But I'm happy to hear that we're transitioning, but I just do want to be, just be really, really clear that it makes me a little nervous that we're still kind of having to deal with that, and that the public may or may not be happy about it.
So, Madam Mayor, just to address again,
Yeah.
because the framework for this entire presentation is public trust, right?
Right.
And with that is transparency.
Yeah.
Let me come back to you now that I have a much better sense of the anxiety, which is
Yeah.
exactly how. Let me walk through the process of what a file. Let's pretend that we are a file, and how do we go through the different steps? Let me bring that back to
Okay.
you, as
And-
that was not something that I have focused
Yeah,
on.
and I appreciate that. I mean, but this was really like my concern, Chief. And this is, I mean, I know you were going to say something before the city manager said something, so I'd like to hear what you were going to say.
Well, I understand your concern, but
Yeah.
right now, the only people who have access to it are people who have legal access to it. It's put away, it's stored in the storage room within the police department. Our records people, our records staff are all trained on the process. It is a misdemeanor, it is a crime to go in there and access and release information that is not releasable.
Mhm.
It's sensitive information. We get certified every year through the Department of Justice on the laws regarding these documents. And nobody's coming into those rooms without authorization. And realistically, the only time they go in there is if they do get a public records request to go into those storage rooms. And the digital system is not going to transfer any of these paper documents. If it's not already scanned in TrackNet, they're not going to be moved over.
Mhm.
We're waiting for the purging process for those just to be purged. If they're satisfactory, reach their limit, and our retention policy says it should be destroyed, it will be destroyed. It's not going to be, if it hasn't already been scanned in, it's not going to be scanned in. Some of these old documents,
Okay.
they're just going to be purged
Yeah.
once we get the process in place.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I hear what you're saying. I also know that a paper system is not like 100% reliable, right? And I only say that because I know I worked in a system like that, and I know that there's some issues, and that's why a digital system is it's an easier thing to provide oversight on. So I just wanted to get that, but I do want to go back to your suggestion, City Manager Cortez, of coming back with that. I would like to have that. And it's just as a way for the public to get a little bit more information. I do love this idea of just being really transparent, but also I think what's most important as we move towards improving public trust is that the public hears that we know that this is an area that we can improve in, and we're moving in that direction, and we are, but it is also important for them to know what we're struggling with right now. And that is, I think, one of the things that we want to make sure that we can convey to the public. Okay, so I'm going to just end with that. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you, City Manager. And then we will, okay, let me move on and see if, I think there was another question I had for you. No, I think that was it. I think the auditing question was my other one. I think that got answered in yours and the chief's responses. Okay, well, thank you so much for that. So go ahead and continue on with your report.
Okay, so
okay.
moving on to the next hot topic, which is our sewer operation. So I felt that it was important for mostly members of the public who may not necessarily have had a chance to visit our treatment plant, and even council members. I'm not sure who here has visited the facility. And so here is a summary of, so I am dirty water, right? So I arrive into our facility. The first step is that I have to go through pre-screening and grit removal. So that's where the junk comes out, diapers come out, things like that. Then I go into the drum screen process. Then I go into the aeration process. So again, where we have the fans circulating the dark water. Then I go into the infamous membranes that we hear about. That then leads to chlorination. And then that goes into the percolating ponds and/or water recycling. By the time that we get to this point, the water, I actually had a picture. I asked the main operator of the facility to send me a picture of what that water looks like. It looks like water that you would drink. We're not at that point, but it goes from dark to now being what seems to be drinkable water. So this is the process, and the problems we have had have been at multiple stages. But I wanted to have this out and probably even put it in the website. I have seen some of the comments in social media. There's a great deal of confusion. So let me just repeat for the public. The rates that will be increasing are for water, drinkable water. They are not for sewer. They are not for dark water. They are for drinkable water. And what we're discussing here is dirty stuff, is dirty water. So as far as a framework, our regional regulator is the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. They're the ones that we want to make sure we're not in trouble with. The sewer plant is residential use only. There are two sources of dark water, the city of Hollister, residential, and San Juan Bautista as of summer 2025. So it'll be almost a year this summer. The summer will be a year since we've started receiving sewage from San Juan Bautista. The capacity for the plant is 4.08 million gallons per day. The average that we operate right now is 2.8 to 3.2. So just to share with you, in another city that I managed, we were a destination city. And so during the week, we have very few residents, but on weekends, we had all our hotels were full, Airbnbs, RVs, name it. So our MGD would increase tremendously during the weekends. And we had a number of festivals throughout the year. It was by looking at our sewer treatment plant that we were able to determine the fact that we would get about 2 million people in town visiting at various points of the year. So sewer levels are very important to get a sense of activity in a city. So when I was there, they told me that, for example, for the Super Bowl, we had seen an increase. So September 2025, the Water Board received a request from the county's water district asking for recycled water. We could not provide it. We failed to achieve recycled water requirements, and that's why we couldn't release it. So since since that time, we had not been providing recycled water, which in itself, Madam Clerk, if you could go back to the graphic, that's the goal. The goal is that we are able to provide recycled water. So if we're not meeting that goal, then our treatment plant is failing at one of its key outcomes. So then, in September, our partner, our operator, Viola, deployed Mr. Josh Rogers to our plant. He is what I guess you would call in many sectors a fix-it man. When you have a problem, you hire Mr. Rogers. So Viola sent him in our direction because of the number of issues we had that led to us not being able to provide recycled water. So in December 10th, the water board inspected the plant and found a number of violations. In an ideal world, you would have been told about those violations. I have not gotten a hold of Mr. Pia to ask him how come that information didn't come to the council. Mr. Powell wasn't in today. Mr. Powell will be in tomorrow, and I will ask that question as he was present during that visit. And out of that visit, there's been monthly meetings between the city and the water board. Now, let's talk about the findings. One of the findings was that we did not follow proper procedures in communicating to the water board when we had an overflow condition on August 24th, 2025. By speaking to Mr. Rogers about that situation, he explained that we didn't have to tell the water board because the overflow was contained. Potato, not sure, that it deserves further consideration. My approach, I'm more conservative. I think that if a permit says when an overflow happens, you shall pick up the phone and call the regulator, I'd rather err on the side of calling the regulator. Again, we can go either way. As far as the bad smell, so remember, all of this started because people complain about the smell. But in reality, it started when we couldn't produce recycled water last summer. I don't know if the council was given enough information to understand that the problem, I hate to put it in these terms, but really it was not the stinky stuff. It was the recycled water. The smell is something that our residents are able to perceive and they communicate with us. The recycled water is a little more quiet, but it is also an indication that this is not working. So, the water board expects that no odor should be perceived outside of the area of the plant. That's the goal. Clearly, we're not there. As far as the recycled water and the process, what their letter indicates is that we are not following consistent procedures regarding the use of chlorine in the chamber. Spoke to the operator. There's different philosophies behind it. Maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong. So where we are, let me just stop there. So yes, we started talking about this because of the smell, but it is a number of issues that that definitely put a question mark on our entire operation and on the city. Once before, I think one of you had asked me, where does the buck end? And the buck stops in the city manager's office. Whoever is sitting on that chair is ultimately the person responsible for this to work. So at this point, it's me. So we are going to be working closely with all our partners, including the water board, to make sure that if we need technical assistance, we get it. If we need to bring a third party to help us, we do that, and so on and so forth. It is not just about the smell. So I want to be clear. If we fix the smell tomorrow, we still have other problems. Okay? Questions? There's more.
Okay, thank you for that. Questions? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
I mean, I have questions, but I want to hear more.
Okay.
But I'm just going to shoot off what you kind of have told me. So first off, like, this is a good graphic. Whoever put it together, thank you. We've never been presented with something like this. So good job on that. When we talk about capacity problems, okay, so this is the problem that I have, and I'm looking at Javier
and city manager. When we talk about capacity, right? In the past, the staff used to say, oh, you have capacity, you can buy membranes and increase the capacity. And we were like, well, I was like, no, wait a second. We have problems. It smells. And I hate to just sit here. I'm not going to politicize this and toot my own horn, but um, I have a problem when you guys give us numbers and say that we have capacity when the sludge has not been removed, when there's low maintenance of the infrastructure, and how does that play a role in those numbers? I really don't trust when somebody puts numbers in front of us and wants us to approve something. This is not you guys, right? When the community is telling us something different. So that just it didn't add up for me, right? And we're talking about 2023. We had this room filled with people complaining about this, not to increase it, to fix this odor problem first. And to me, and just my non-sewer brain thinks there's something here. These people keep complaining about it, right? And I smell it too. I live by there and I smell it. So just so we know, we did have an overflow problem before, right? Am I mistaken, or what's the difference? What are you saying? We have an overflow now. What stopped? In 2002, we had what?
2002.
In 2002, we had an overflow where the state came in and told us you have to put a moratorium to building. Is that something different?
Mr. Hernandez, do you have any information on that? Because I don't. Now, the overflow that I'm talking about happened last year.
I know.
This is recent.
I know it, but we were not told about this.
Correct. So
Like you said, we were never told about this
if I
until
could
tonight.
also, now I understand your question about capacity, so let me address it.
Sure.
The plant has a permit that limits our capacity to 4.08. Let's just say that magically that plant could have a capacity of 10. It doesn't matter. Our permit says 4.08. We cannot do more than that. Now, let's pretend that magically we could do more than that. Your question is, Ms. Cortez, does the city have the capacity to handle that? If I give you a puppy, can you take care of that puppy? And right now, the answer is no.
Yeah.
I cannot honestly say to you that we have the capacity to take care of a puppy. We're
agree.
trying to make sure the cactus stays alive.
I agree. Who gives us that? You just brought up another question. Who gives us that permit?
Oh, the water board.
Okay. So was it ever increased because we purchased the membranes?
No.
So we're still running at that max capacity per the permit from the water board. But meanwhile, we have projects in the pipeline that are going to put us over that.
So then,
From my understanding, San Juan Oaks, Gavilan College, Cielo Vista are going to put us over that. And that's why the old council rationalized purchasing the membranes was to increase the capacity, but we don't have the permit for that.
we do not exactly. So let me tell you one of the narratives out there that I had found that is confusing, which is if we bring a new membrane, we can process more. Sure, but we don't have the permit to process more. And we are bringing redundancy to the plant, not because we need to increase, but because we need redundancy
So-
for the same 4.08.
Here's the thing, Ms. Cortez, what I love about your presentation, you said the buck stops here. Like, I'm here, you're here, you know about this problem now, and you're going to resolve it. Whoever's spinning or whoever's out there talking about or trying to misinform the public, they're gone. We're here now, and you have a council that, like you said, prioritizes action. We want to work on it. However, we were not told any of this information until the first day you got here. I don't remember, right? So,
Mr. Resendez, members of the council, as long as I'm your city manager, I will treat you with the respect that you have earned as policymakers. And as policymakers, you make policy, but you also look out, you are the ultimate steward of the public safety and environmental health of this community. If there is anything that in any way impacts either area, it is my duty, it is my responsibility to bring that to your attention.
thank you. So maybe we can get back to the questions.
Yes. What
Yeah.
happened in 2002?
So 2002, was that an overflow? I mean, you got to walk me through this. And what is happening now with this overflow?
So this overflow is specific to the aeration chambers. So that's what was overflowing. So it was overflowing from one of the systems within the plant, but it was being captured within the plant and it was recirculated within the treatment process. So it
That's
wasn't
2002.
external.
And
No,
what?
that's-
No, that's now.
that's
Yeah,
now.
2002 though.
What happened in
That was
2002?
if I'm not mistaken, and again, I wasn't here on the time, that was a spill into the river. So-
Yeah, you're
so-
right. You're
so
right.
that's-
You're
that's
right.
why that one was put a moratorium on building.
Okay, good. But let's talk about that. So we are only permitted for, you should know this. We've got projects in the pipeline that are going to put us over our permitted allowance.
So the plant currently under its regional permit is permitted for 4.08 as our city manager indicated. That's a volumetric calculation. That's the capacity. So we can percolate and we can treat and release that water once it's treated. So we right now we're producing or we're taking in about 3 MGD a day. The capacity on the plant is rated at 4.08.
And the
MGD.
old council approved, the old mayor and the old council approved San Juan Oaks, Gavilan College, Cielo Vista. What is that going to do to our capacity? And if I'm not mistaken, their rationale behind approving that was we buy the membranes and we get a newer number from the water board, which we're not getting.
So the plant in its ideal operating condition it should be treating or should have a higher capacity. The 4.08 is actually reduced to 4.08.
But the state's not going to let us do that right now.
Council
Not right now.
member, given what I've shared with you, I sincerely doubt that a regional regulator would be happy if we ask for a puppy when we cannot take care of a
So what do
cactus.
we do about those projects in the pipeline
We'll
that
make,
were approved by the council?
We
We
will-
can't legally, I mean, we can't,
we have to make sure that this works regardless of those
so
projects.
how do we ensure that we're not hooking up, or have we already hooked up? My understanding is that we have hooked up Gavilan, Cielo Vista, and I think people are living in San Juan Oaks, right? Are we taking their sewage?
We're taking San Juan Bautista, but I don't know the status of those.
No, I
Unless-
believe we're taking San Juan Oaks as well. So we are taking
San Juan Oaks,
yeah, I would have to return
Yeah.
that information.
Gavilan College, Cielo Vista, they connected in the middle of the dark without us even going to, without staff going to sign off on it. Cielo Vista connected, and the city manager at the time had to go over there and say, wait a second, our staff needs to come over here and approve your work. You cannot bring it. So that was illegal too. And I don't know if that's been told publicly, but I was told that by the city manager.
So council members, let me bring that to you because that's another layer of this equation, which is us having a clear understanding of who is contributing. By talking to the operator, I was told San Juan Bautista and City of Hollister, that's it. So let me find out and verify the information that I trust will be accurate. And let us continue with these updates. And I think that was the whole purpose of having these done every time that the council comes together.
And let's be honest, the old city managers that were here at the time, the old directors that were here at the time, the old attorneys that were here at the time are no longer working with us. Like they mysteriously all disappeared. Like the same as the mayor, but she was voted out, I think mostly because of this and wanting to add to it. So I'm looking forward to hearing more of your presentation, and we really need to put some safeguards in place to protect our sewer. It is our sewer, and it's been run into the ground. And who's left to suffer and pay for that cost? The citizens of Hollister. So I'll stop there. Thank
Okay.
you, Mayor.
And then if I could just add on to that. So as you said in your thing that it's just City of Hollister and San Juan. So San Juan Oaks, Cielo Vista, and Gavilan will
Gavilan.
have Hollister addresses. So that's what I'm saying. But it will be included in the City of Hollister. So if when you say it's only City of Hollister, do you know what I mean? So it's not like it's a separate city. It will be a part of that. So I want to make sure that you understand that that's what that is. And then I also, as you come back and with some follow-up answers to this, city manager, I want to make sure that we fully understand the capacity, this capacity 4.08 capacity, because that is our permit, and how that's measured, and is it like some comes in and then others go out and then it comes in, and so as long as we stay within the 4.8, then we manage that, but by adding new customers, will it automatically increase? So that'll be part of the,
The
if you
percentage.
can
Yes.
answer that question. Okay,
I'll
thank you
do
for
that.
that. Any questions?
Yeah, I really just have one at this point in the presentation. So we've discussed we've got some issues, right? We've got some problems. We were asked for some, from the water, some recycled water from the California Water Control Board. They asked for some recycled water, weren't able to produce that. Looks like, we had that overflow situation. So we just bought some aerators and chop pumps that we probably don't even have yet, right? That was just a couple weeks ago. So we've done a little bit of investment to get the
Yes.
maintenance up to snuff. In the
Yeah.
latter part of your presentation, are we going to talk about like what else in this chain that creates, either potable water or water for, crops?
Yes, so I do have more information for you,
Okay.
and specifically what we've been purchasing lately, because I've
Okay.
been bringing
Okay.
money.
Let me check on this side. Council member. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and then my only question is, because you did refer to the odor. And so if you have any update on that, because when we had our special meeting February 9th, we asked for a timeline of when we could anticipate a decrease in the odor, and how long it might take, and at least when would at least the public begin to see at least a declining in the odor. And then, so could you just give a little bit more information about that?
Yes, indeed. Let me read to you, but if I could ask Madam Clerk, can you go to page 18? That way, members of the public who may be watching can also see. These are the specific things that we have been doing. And again, the intent is to bring to you every 2 weeks progress on our movement. Oh, it's the one that says finding number 2. Oh, there you go. Okay. So 5 aerations are working at one of the ponds. So the pond that is closer to the gate is SSB. And a 6 is to be installed as we speak. We've added enzymes on February 10th to help us contain some of that odor. We have the chopper pump, which you approved for the purchase. It has been ordered for our headworks, which is the very beginning of the process. So that's what's going to chew up the diapers and the wipes and all that. Both rotary drums have been repaired and should now be fully incorporated into the system. We continue to do weekly cleanings of membranes. And we have the membrane guru, is what Viola called him, is going to be in town tomorrow. So please understand that these things that we're doing now should have been doing all along. And so again, our inability to manage Viola and Viola's inability to do the work, we are now catching up. Aeration basins will need cleaning, and the rotary drums are functioning as desired. We are procuring circulation devices called solar bees to move the water around. So you're using the aerators to lift the water and then you move it around. We have new electrical. We found as we were installing the aerators that electrical have been chewed up by probably rats, and so it's being taken care of. Staff has posted an FAQ about this situation in our website in English and Spanish, so people who have questions, they can be referred to that. On March 4th, we will begin the use of a drone-operated meter to detect the level of smell. So that way we will have data points. Now, I'm the first one to say that if the drone says that everything should be okay, but La Señora Ramirez doesn't think so, obviously we're not going to use the drone to not validate somebody's smell, right? So, but we will have data to measure the smell. And the target date for this to be fully addressed tax day, April 16. So that was a good day because we all remember it.
And city manager, does that mean a target date that by April 15th,
You're
it's
not
gone?
Mailing anything.
Okay. Because what we had heard is that we would start to see a decrease, we would start to smell, I guess, a decrease. And so then it should be, okay. So we're talking about 6 weeks from now, little decreases, and then tax day, the worst day of the year and the best day of the year for some of our residents.
yeah.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
drone will help us gather data. And again, I don't want to minimize the
No.
perception versus
No,
science. We
experience.
will have the science.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay.
All right. So that's for the sewer treatment plan, the sewage treatment plan. Yes, sir.
You're done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't see sludge removal on here.
I'm sorry?
I don't see sludge removal on here. Where are we at with procuring somebody to remove the sludge?
I had that actually. Mr. Resendez, I can give you that answer after this meeting. It's in my notes in my office.
Okay. I'm assuming it's on its way. Okay,
Mr.
we really
Hernandez?
need to prioritize getting the sludge out. It's been a huge problem.
Mr. Hernandez, do you have an update on this sludge removal? I talked to Mr. Roger.
Yeah,
today.
no, he was working on not only getting, procuring that number for the sludge removal, but also an alternative to buying our own dredging device for the sludge.
Oh,
So that way we could potentially do it on a year-to-year basis.
oh,
So
I like that.
when I visited, we did have the conversation. So remember I mentioned that luckily I have experience with the sewer treatment plant in Richmond.
Yeah.
And in Richmond, we didn't have this problem. So Mr. Rogers, who had also worked at the Richmond plant, told me that one of the reasons was because over there we remove sludge every year. So
Oh,
my 2 cents to him is make it so. Let's
so they
make it
probably
happen
have
there.
that piece of equipment, I'm assuming.
It's a centrifuge, it's space, we can do it.
Okay. I think in the long term, even if it's expensive, if we have the money, it's
Agreed.
going to be beneficial for us to do it. The thing with the drone, you've got to be careful. Hollister's a windy little city. And as you know, as we walked in here, it was smelling. And I think it was smelling today because the wind picks up every day at the same time. I don't know how that's going to impact your readings. Be careful with that. And then I'm going to say it. I've said it before, but the main issue with our sewer, number one, that is our gem too, so to speak. We own that sewer. The citizens of Hollister paid a lot of money for that sewer, and we have the keys to that sewer. Don't give away the keys to our sewer. People want to put pressure on us as policymakers, and they want access to the sewer. Why? It is to build houses. I've said it time and time again. They want to build more houses. In order to do that, they need access to our sewer. Until the day that I'm up here, I will never vote to allow that because we have problems, not just with the sewer. These are very evident and they're very impactful, especially to people on the west side. But we do not give away our keys to the sewer. It's our biggest asset here ever. And it doesn't surprise me now that all these people that used to sit up here or that worked here before are gone and we're barely hearing about this. Like it's not a shock to me just because I've been here for 8 years and I've seen it time and time again. So I just wanted to remind you guys of that. There's going to be pressure around us policymakers and they're not very transparent and open about it. They just want to line their pockets with more money and they need our sewer to do that. So this is really, really bad. And I just, again, thank you, and thank you guys for prioritizing this.
Thanks. Any other follow-up questions, Councilmember Boucher?
I just want to make mention of something like when it comes to the drones. Have you heard of a temperature inversion? I'm just coming to understand what these concepts are because I'm not like a climatologist. But it's when basically, day turns to night, night turns back into day. There's an area of higher temperature, higher in the atmosphere, and cooler temperature down low. And it basically, what the temperature inversion does is it's going to trap certain contaminants like smoke. You ever seen smoke travel up to a certain distance and then boom, it hits this wall and then it starts going horizontal? It's not because the smoke cooled down and that's as hot as it's and high as it's going to go. It would keep going feasibly. But that traps smells too. It traps pesticides. A lot of things can get trapped by these temperature inversions. So I wasn't sure if, we could just keep that in mind in our calculations that when we have these temperature inversions, the weather service kind of helps us track this stuff. Maybe just take a look at it, just throwing it out. So we can stay in front of these things because people really smell it when we have that onshore flow and we have a temperature inversion. It's wafting straight into town.
Okay, thanks for that. Councilmember Morales, any questions or comments?
No, thank you for the very clear explanation. I really do appreciate that we're actually, the research is being done, understanding the underlying issue and really addressing it to the core so that we know what it is and our residents know what it is. So I thank you for that. And I look forward to April 16th. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Vice Mayor?
I just want to say thank you for the great work and continue what you're doing.
Thank you. And I still have more items in my report, so I'm not
Okay,
done.
and are you, but the sewer, this is your
Sewer.
sewer report. Okay, so thank you for that. And yeah, so we look forward to continuing with this, but thanks for that. Okay, go ahead, City
General
Manager.
plan and housing element. So, pictures, what is it? Say 1,000 words? Is that how it goes? So let me save the 1,000 words.
I love it. Thank you.
There's no question about folks not understanding when things are due. There's no question about when we're going to council, where we're going to the planning board, etc. This shall stay here until the date that we submit, and then we'll rip it and we'll burn it in the parking lot. But
Mhm.
here are all the dates. This is what we need to be fully aware of. There is zero wiggle room on these deadlines.
Right.
It's no joke. Audits, utilities, general plan / housing element.
Thank you.
These are the big ones.
Yeah. And City Manager, can you just remind us, like, because when you talked about doing this, and thank you so much because it's just a great visual. And it's very easy for anybody from the public to be able to look at it. We have this same document posted other places, right? Can you remind us in the lobby,
CDD,
CDD?
and I want to put one outside in where we have our glass.
Okay, so there'll be one like in the bulletin area on the side of the building. Okay, good. So, I mean, for members of the public, if you want to know what's happening with our general plan and housing element, we'll have the timeline there. And thank you for that, because what I think this does is it holds us all accountable, right? We're going to stay on these dates. We're not veering from these dates. We've been adamant about, let's make sure that we stay on the dates, that we stay on this timeline. So this will help to hold all of us accountable. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Madam Clerk, let's make sure that your staff is also aware of these dates. They're also outside, as we have to put public notices for the hearings.
Councilmember, since you have a question or comment,
Comment.
go ahead.
Can I just say that one of the dates is that it needs to go to our planning commissioners. And I don't make a hobby of like really trying to influence my commissioner, but if we can just check in and say like, this is important, make sure that you guys are looking at this, or maybe the staff can talk to them as well, and just kind of brief them on like how critical this is. Or if you guys talk to your commissioners, I'm just putting it out as a reminder. Like, this is something that we really, really
Yeah.
need to get.
What's the date that it's going to Planning Commission?
March 26th.
Okay, so that will be after our joint meeting with them,
Oh, perfect.
right?
Perfect.
So yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor.
Maybe
She
we can,
just whispered in
agendize
my
that.
ear, are we gonna be? So yeah, okay, so yeah, so that'll be an important thing
Maybe we
for,
can agendize it or put it as an information report or
maybe,
something, Mayor.
yeah, and
Thank you.
maybe bring this poster with us to that meeting. Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, so that's general plan and housing element. water adjustment rollout. So thank you, council members, Madam Mayor, for the 30% adjustment to our rates. So I just wanted to share with you our current strategy for rolling it out. Number one, we are developing messages that are focused on the adjustment, the timing, financial assistance, and why a rate is being adjusted at this point in time. We want to start educating people today, and so Public Works has created a number of products with the right messaging. We've had a meeting with the finance department staff so that we can agree which cycle that's going to be when we are going to have the actual rates go up. We will be sending notices to all the ratepayers in the month of March. We will provide water inserts in the cycle that's in the middle of the month of March to make sure that, again, people are receiving that information. We're posting in social media. We are using our outreach personnel to, whenever possible, engage in those conversations. The adjustments will be effective. It's that calendar over there. It's April. Jen, can you tell me what that blue number is on a Friday? Yes, so that's the date.
April 17th.
April 17 is when we will begin the new rates. Financial assistance will be offered to any member of the community that is eligible under the CARE program by PG&E, and it's as simple as bringing the PG&E bill. I've spoken to folks at PG&E who basically have told me the requirements that they have focus only on income versus other status. The bill detail will be reviewed so that we can start releasing information that separates the costs among the different partners. It's transparency, but it's also a way for us to say, it's not just us. San Benito County has a share. Sunny Slope has a share. We have a share. So let's just provide more information. Then as far as water, I actually do need a direction from this group, from the council. I attended the meeting with the County Water District Advisory Committee. It's made out of staff. And I learned that the water blend that we use is different than that of Sunny Slope. So our blend right now, let me start with the sources. Our water comes from City of Hollister wells. It also comes from the LaSalle plant and from West Hills treatment plant. LaSalle and West Hills, they get their water from the Central Valley Project. Its surface water is good water. Wells is groundwater. Again, Mother Nature has decided to put chromium in our ground, and so it's not the best water. Our blend, based on the 2024 water quality study that we have released, and it's in various parts of the city, says that our blend for the city of Hollister is 61% surface water, Central Valley water, and 39% well water. For Sunny Slope, however, the rate is 82% surface water and 18% groundwater. In other words, Sunny Slope has better water than the city of Hollister. So I asked, why is that? And the response was because of money. So I indicated that if money is the factor, I needed to bring it back to the council for a policy decision, because the policy decision is not money, is the quality of the water. And so in order for me to provide the district with direction on how much water we need, I wanted to get direction from you as to whether we should maintain our current blend of 6139 or whether we want to go towards a blend that emulates Sunny Slope at 8218.
Okay, comment, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering, like, do they use the West Hills treatment plant, Sunny Slope?
Yes.
How much do they use of that? Because that was supposed to solve all of this. when it was built?
I have the report too in my office. I can go get it right now if you want. I can put it, it's online. That's where I got it.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, go ahead, feel free. I mean, is that okay, Mayor?
I mean, your question is your question is around the West Hills water plant was supposed to bring city water to the 8018, I think
Well,
was.
I don't know the numbers, but I mean, it was
was
built,
supposed-
you guys, this council just gave them more money, the West Hills treatment plant. I don't know if you remember that,
Mhm.
not that long ago, I voted against it. So like, how are they helping us out when they were supposed to be helping us out? And if Sunny Slip is using it, how much are they using versus us? I'm just curious, like, where does that fit into the equation?
This previous year, we purchased 40, combined, Sunny Slope and ourselves purchased 4,200 acre feet of water. We split it 50-50. So 50% of that water went to the city of Hollister, 50% of that water went to Sunny Slope. And that was, surface water.
And that's from West Hills.
Correct.
And we just did that
Yeah.
this year?
From the county, well, yeah, it's from San Benito County Water District, correct, through the West Hills.
Okay. So we're getting water from West Hills. We're getting water from our pumps, which we know they're not high in chromium. Well, maybe, but they're also high in, what's it called? The other chemical?
Hexavalent 6.
No,
The
not
chromium 6.
That's chromium. What's the other
Right,
one? I forgot. Anyway, our water, groundwater is high in something else. So West Water Hills pump water, and then we get the surface water that the city manager was talking about from the valley.
The surface water it runs through West Hills treatment plant.
Oh,
So let me explain. The water comes from the Central Valley Project. That's federally monitored. Our district buys the water. And then the water is sent to Sunny Slope through whether it's La Salle or West Hills treatment plants. So Sunny Slope treats, the district buys, and the seller is the Central Valley.
I think we need to have a bigger conversation about this. Like,
Okay.
it gets a real tricky when we're talking about water. Maybe sit down with each of us. And then I think we need to talk numbers, right? We need to talk about numbers. And who's in charge of all the water stuff here? It's the director of public works.
The city manager.
Okay. So we probably need to hear from an expert that's like not biased too. You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes we hear this from Sunny Slope or we hear it from the water board, but we don't have anybody internally here that's really looking out for the city of Hollister's best interest rather than a contractor that we've shared with them in the past. I don't like that.
I think that there's definitely a room for a study session where we can invite some of the stakeholders and have a much larger conversation. So yes, we can definitely do that. Let me schedule it.
But I want to ensure that it's not that there's somebody sitting in the room that's looking out for Hollister's interest.
Of course.
That's what I'm mostly getting at because this is very complicated.
Will do. Board of Supervisors? Should I move on?
Okay, wait, hold on.
My
Let me
apologies.
check. Hold on, let me just check to see if there's any questions on this side. Any questions on that?
No, I would tend to agree. I think for like the larger items, and by the way, my comment in terms of the water blend should be equal to or better than what Sunny Slope is doing. And we see it in our homes, the replacement of faucets within a 5-year period. It's the skin and hair. So it has a dramatic impact on the quality of life for our residents without us even having a say in it. I think that was wrong for them to make the decision for us without even allowing us the opportunity to, one, understand the issue, understand the costs, and actually make the decision. So I hope that in the future, thank you for bringing it to our attention. In the future, we can send a message to them to say, policy decisions are our decisions, and we need to be informed, not just of this issue, but all the issues that you brought before us. I mean, this is the first time we're hearing about a lot of things that really should have been items that should have been brought forth to council. I also would like to see these items agendized because these are issues that our residents have been complaining about without really like they know something's wrong, but they really haven't put their finger on it until you've you've brought it to us, right? Like it started out with one thing, but then when you looked into it and conducted research, you're really understanding what the root cause of it is. And so these are really important issues that our community needs to be informed about and share. I also appreciate the comment about let's have a workshop and really hear from all the diverse perspectives and subject matter experts, because these are complicated issues, but again, they impact the quality of life for our residents. Thank you.
So are the assisted programs, those opportunities, will those be extended to San Juan Bautista residents as well? Is it just
City of Hollister only.
City of Hollister?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so I agree. I think having it come back with some more information. I mean, I think some technical information would be good so that we have a really good understanding of what's the difference in the numbers and what does that actually mean in terms of water quality, as well as some of the other questions that my fellow council members have already asked for. So if we can just put that in there so that we can have a really good understanding, because clearly we want to make sure that if we're talking about what you mentioned earlier, City Manager, about equity, then we want to make sure that we are being equitable. It does not make sense that some of our residents, because they happen to be Sunny Slope customers, have, and I'm going to say in quotes, better water, right? So let's understand that and make sure that that we're not doing that we're not
Exactly.
providing something that's inequitable. Councilmember Pache, did you have your hand up? Did you have
I
a
did.
question or a comment? Go ahead.
Please, yeah. So, you know, we had to issue a public service announcement, right? There's nothing, we're exceeding, a few parts per billion. I'm not gonna, I love that you're, alerting the public to what's going on. We're at 10 part per billion of, what was it, chromium 6?
Chromium 6.
And the allowable limit was 10 part per billion, and we were at 13. And it was basically one of our wells. In part, in your fact-finding mission that you're going to be going on in the next couple of weeks, would you be able to find out what mix would help us get below that? Right? So it seems to me that I just want to make sure that this makes sense, because I'm just wrapping my head around it. Someone on the county side or Sunny Slope side made a decision about our mix of the 6139 to Sunny Slope's 8218. Someone who made that decision?
It was a historical decision that has been carried from year to year by a committee that is made out of staff. And that's where the question came up. So the question for me was, what blend would you like? And so then I asked questions. I realized that it was a policy decision, and I indicated that I would bring it to this body to make a decision.
Okay. Interesting. So would you be able to just get back to us with specifically what percentage mix would get us below that 10 parts per
can.
billion, even though we're not being beholden to it till, what was it, 2027? We're not being held to that standard quite yet. Let's get below
But
that number, because it
can
seems
do that.
smart and a
It-
good thing to do.
And part of my intent in giving you these reports is to identify which items you want to bring back for, in this case, a study session. My intention is not only to keep you abreast of some of the issues that affect the environment, public health, and so on, but also put forward policy questions that only you can answer, and we'll bring those back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry.
can you
Go
just
ahead.
bring back, thank you, the mixture that would get us below that 10 parts per billion, so we're in compliance now, even though we're not beholden to that? And then can you get a cost on that
Mhm.
mix? And then the exact mix that Sunny Slope has? Not to be outdone, I mean, we should be having good water too, right?
And they are at 8218. That's public information,
Yeah, so can you
8218.
get that cost as well? So
Sure.
to get us below the 10 ppm or
Yes.
ppb
Yes.
figure, and then get us that, whatever it would cost us to get to the 8218?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And then just a really quick last minute question. Was there a timeline for you to get back to Sunny Slope?
Yes,
on
I'm
the business?
supposed to get back to them in the middle of the month, but I think that if the proper body isn't making the decision, then we just need to wait.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay,
My
continue on.
my last chapter in this novel, and it's a report regarding my visit to the Board of Supervisors. I attended the meeting last week, more so because we were going to have a few items in their agenda, and so I felt that it was a good way to introduce myself to the board. However, by being in that meeting, I realized really how much information and narratives there are around the city, the city, the city, the city. And yet there's no one there to take notes or provide the answers to the questions. So I took down there were a number of questions. I wrote them down in hopes that when I had the opportunity to be at the microphone, I would be able to share. Their legal counsel didn't think that that was appropriate. And so instead I said, okay, I'll send them to the county administrator via email, no problem. And so I just wanted to share with you what I'm supposed to be sending, what I would like to send to the city administrator. There was a conversation about vet park. And so there was some confusion as to what the city did versus the county. And so I just want to confirm for them that the city provides routine maintenance for 2 softball fields, 1 skate park, and we also take care of the parking lot that is at the park. In exchange, the city retains the proceeds from the softball fields. So I just want to make sure they understand that that's the partnership. Regarding cost allocations, the City of Hollister's renewed direction emphasizes predictability, consistency, and transparency. These principles apply to cost allocations, fees, and rates. We will conduct an internal evaluation of city and county cost-sharing arrangements to clarify, justify, if needed, existing costs and make revisions where appropriate. So there was an implication that some of our accounts aren't clear, and it is my intention to make sure that they are. Again, we serve the same public, so we need to be transparent. Developer contributions and capital improvements. As discussed, the city will complete an inventory of all projects that include developer concessions to ensure that these resources are properly collected. The project that was in discussion at that point, we've collected all the necessary fees, but I think the larger anxiety is the city collecting on everything? It's a great question, so let's get an answer. And those are really the main points that I will be communicating with the county administrator. And that concludes my very long message report. I appreciate your indulgence.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
So yeah, I'm hoping that we can partner more with the county, and I'd like for you to be more involved and be more of a partner to them. I don't know if we necessarily have had that, especially in such a transparent way recently. So I'm glad to hear that. I do have a couple questions since you're done, real quick, or just thoughts I'm going to throw out there. I always feel like we're throwing more money and trying to like fix the problem rather than getting to the root cause of the problem. So no offense, but rather than like what blend is going to get rid of the chromium, like why don't we find out what's causing the chromium? Like I think we need to find out what's the root cause of the chromium. And on top of that, this just reminded me that today, I think for the first time ever, we found out like what's causing the smell. For the first time ever, I think it was uncovered right here that we found out sort of what's causing that smell with the domestic wastewater treatment plant. But we still need to do environmental tests, I think. So I would like to find out what's causing the chromium and then do environmental tests on the river, the soil, the air. So those are 2 things that are kind of lingering out there that I think are very important for public safety. And then in regards to the water, I agree with a lot of the points that Councilmember Morales brought up. I just don't, and I don't want to feel like I'm being sold anything, if that makes sense. I don't want somebody in here to come in here and tell us what we should do, because I feel like that sometimes, and I really feel like we need an expert level person, not a staff member, but that's really going to look out for our interest and tell us what the community standard is or what the standard out there in the waters, because we don't have that. I don't think we have that here currently. And I think that we get taken for a ride sometimes. And I just don't really like or want or appreciate when that happens, especially with things like water and sewer. So I don't think we have a strong partnership with Sunny Slope either, I'll be honest with you. At least we haven't in the past. So I'm just really cautious about that. Thank you.
Council member one, I mean, an idea as far as addressing quality of water is we can look at very wealthy communities around California and find out what their blend is.
Okay, okay, yeah, and then going back to your final item about the county. So I appreciate that you're listening in on that, council, city manager, and then I encourage you to continue to do that. We have many um, cost sharing arrangements, and often, at least since I've been here, there has been this concern and a legitimate concern that we have a bigger share of the cost sharing. And so I think as you're looking at that, so for example, you talked I can't remember what it was that you mentioned, right? But obviously there's things like fire, we have pet services, we have, I mean, there's a number of things where we provide services to the county, and then we're not sure that that each one of us is paying the right amount. We often get accused of the city carrying the heavy burden. We don't know for sure that we know that. And so that might be as you're doing this work and you're trying to answer these questions for the county and you're looking into some of these agreements, then just kind of keep that in mind, because we know that that has come up. And there's a number of agreements with the county. And I would rely certainly on the directors to alert you in their respective areas, what are the services that we share with the county and San Juan Bautista for that matter, right? It's not just always the county. It's sometimes it's all three. Okay, so thank you for that. Oh, let me check on this side. Any other last minute questions? Okay, comments? Okay, I think that are you then complete with your thank you for the very thorough report. So at this time, we're going to move into closed session, and generally we have a reading of the agenda items. So, City Manager, do you want to let us know what's going to be heard on closed session?
City manager, I think you're.
There we go.
Thank you.
So closed session 7.1 is conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The second item is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9.
Okay, thank you for that. Any public comment on these items?
There are no public comment on either item.
Okay, okay, so we're going to move into closed session. So we're gonna clear the chamber and clear our Zoom and go a little bit dark while we do closed session, and then we'll come back to adjourn.
I'm sending a message.